You've held money in your hands thousands of times. Bills, coins, cards. But have you ever stopped to ask, why is this piece of paper worth anything at all? This is the story of 5,000 years of humans trying to answer one question. What is money? From seashells to cryptocurrencies, from stones weighing 4 tons to numbers on a screen, this is the wildest evolution in human history. Welcome, let's go. Before money, there was barter. You have chickens, I have wheat. Let's trade. Simple, right? Wrong. What if I don't need chickens? What if your chickens die before we trade? What if we can't agree on how many chickens equal 1 bag of wheat? Barter only works in tiny communities, where everyone knows everyone. Try scaling that to a city of 10,000 people. Chaos. Humans needed something better, something everyone agreed had value, something that wouldn't rot or die. Enter commodity money. Around 3000 BC, civilization started using stuff as money: cowrie shells in Africa and Asia, salt in Rome, cocoa beans in Mesoamerica. These worked because they were rare, durable, and hard to fake. But here's the problem. They're bulky. Try carrying a year's salary in salt. Good luck. And then there's Yap Island in Micronesia. They use stones as money, not pebbles. Massive limestone discs called Rai stones. Some weighed 4 tons. You couldn't move them. So when you paid someone, the stone just stayed there. Everyone simply agreed it now belonged to someone else. The world's first ledger system. Sound familiar? We'll come back to that. But commodity money had limits. It was heavy. It degraded. It wasn't divisible. You can't break a cowrie shell in half to make change. Humans needed something standardized, something portable, something that screamed, "This is money and nothing else." Around 600 BC, the kingdom of Lydia in modern-day Turkey did something revolutionary. They took electrum, a natural mix of gold and silver, stamped it with a seal, and said, "This is worth this much." The world's first standardized coins. No negotiating, no weighing, no, is this real gold or fake? The government guaranteed it. This changed everything. Coins were portable, durable, divisible. You could split a gold coin into smaller silver or copper coins for change. Trade exploded. Greece adopted it. Rome adopted it. Persia adopted it. Within a few centuries, coins were everywhere. For the first time in history, a traveler could carry wealth across borders. But here's the thing. Gold and silver are heavy. Carrying a fortune means carrying literal weight. And there's only so much gold in the world. Economies were limited by how much metal they could mine. Then someone asked, what if we just promise to pay gold later? The Tang dynasty in China around 700 AD invented paper money. Not as currency, but as I owe us. Merchants would deposit coins with the government and get a paper receipt. That receipt could be exchanged for coins later. It was lighter, safer, easier to carry. And here's the genius part. People started trading the receipts instead of redeeming them. The paper itself became money. By the Song dynasty in the 11th century, the government was printing official paper currency, the world's first fiat money, money backed not by gold, but by trust in the government. Europe didn't catch on for another 600 years. When Marco Polo returned from China and told Europeans about paper money, they thought he was insane. You're telling me they use paper as money? Paper? But eventually, Europe figured it out. By the 17th century, banks in Sweden and England were issuing paper notes. And once banks got involved, things got complicated. Banks realized something wild. Most people don't withdraw their gold at the same time. So why keep all of it in the vault? Why not lend it out and charge interest? This created credit, money that didn't physically exist yet. You could borrow money today and pay it back later. Economies grew faster than ever because people could invest in the future. But there was a problem. If everyone showed up demanding their gold at once, the bank collapsed. Sound familiar? Bank runs, financial panics, crashes. To stabilize things, governments adopted the gold standard. Every dollar, pound, or franc was backed by a fixed amount of gold. You could, in theory, walk into a bank and exchange your cash for gold. This worked. until it didn't. During World War I, countries needed to print more money than they had gold. The gold standard started breaking, and in 1971, President Nixon ended it completely. The US dollar, and by extension most global currencies, was no longer backed by gold. It was backed by trust and the military, but mostly trust. We entered the era of pure fiat money. Money is worth something because the government says so, and because we all agree to pretend it is. In 1950, Diners Club invented the first credit card. It wasn't plastic, it was cardboard, and it only worked at 27 restaurants in New York. But the idea was revolutionary: buy now, pay later. By the 1970s, Visa and MasterCard turned credit cards into a global system. Money became invisible. You didn't need cash, you swiped a card. Numbers moved between banks, electrons, not atoms. Then came the internet. PayPal in 1998, online banking, mobile payments, Venmo, Apple Pay. Money became pure data, a number in a database. We stopped asking, "Where is my money?" and started asking, "Is my account secure?" Because money wasn't physical anymore. It was information. But if money is just information, who controls it? Banks? Governments? What if we cut out the middleman entirely? In 2008, someone using the name Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. No banks, no governments, just math. Bitcoin uses a public ledger called the blockchain. Remember Yap Island and their giant stones? Same idea. Everyone agrees who owns what, but instead of stones, it's encrypted data. Skeptics called it a scam, a bubble, Tulip Mania 2.0, but Bitcoin survived. And now there are thousands of cryptocurrencies: Ethereum, stablecoins, central bank digital currencies. Governments are paying attention. China banned crypto, then launched its own. The US is exploring a digital dollar. El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender. Is crypto the future of money, or just another experiment? History suggests money evolves when the old system stops working. And right now, people are asking, does the current system work? From seashells to Bitcoin, from 4-ton stones to invisible code, 5,000 years, same question, different answers, and here's the thing. We're not done. Biometric payments, brain-computer interfaces, money might not even need a form in the future. It might just exist. That's a story for another video. If you want to see it, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.